My name is Billy Gray, and I'm the next guest on Screen and Beyond.
On Screen and Beyond, an inside look into the entertainment world featuring interviews with people from the movie, TV, and music industry, news on upcoming TV and DVD releases, and the rumor mill. And now, here's the host of On Screen and Beyond, Brian Zemrak.
Thank you for joining us for episode 742 of On Screen and Beyond. I'm your host, Brian Zemrak, and this is the show that brings you a celebrity guest each week from the movie, TV, or music industry, as well as keeping you updated on what's coming your way as far as remakes, sequels, prequels, upcoming new movies, TV and movie, DVD releases, and the rumor mill. Joining us this week on Screen and Beyond is Billy Gray, Bud from the classic TV show Father Knows Best, as well as one of the stars of the classic sci-fi movie The Day the Earth Stood Still, the original, and so much more. Billy was our guest way back in season 2 of On Screen and Beyond. Now we're in season 18, and it's a pleasure to have him back once again. Unfortunately, if you are watching this, due to computer issues on Billy's side, we were unable to have the video portion of the interview for you, but he did give me some photos that I could put up, during he's talking and everything during the interview, and we'll do that so you can still see what he did and has going on and things like that. So, apologize for the fact that we couldn't get the video for it, but if you're on the audio portion, doesn't make any difference. It's going to be the same as always. Billy Gray coming up in a few minutes right here on Screen and Beyond. And in case you missed it last week, we had some great guests the last couple of weeks here. Last week, we had Bo Donaldson of Bo Donaldson and the Haywoods, who hit number 1 on the U.S. charts with Billy Don't Be a Hero. And the week before, we had Philip Wright of the band Paper Lace, who was also had a hit with Billy Don't Be a Hero, but over in the UK. And ultimately, they did hit on the top of the charts in the U.S. with the song The Night Chicago Died. So if you want to check those both out, they're great episodes, and also it bring back so many good memories of the hits of the 70s. So be sure to check that out. And if you are new to On Screen and Beyond or a longtime friend, be sure to check out all of my past 18 years of celebrity interviews, all on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and other podcast platforms. Or you can watch the more recent shows. Starting last, January, we started doing the video portion, and those are up on Spotify and on YouTube. I will be adding some of the past interviews we've done that I actually did video but didn't release them. Okay, but that's going to take time. Like I say, I've been away, and it just takes a lot of time to do that. So, but I will get some more up. So keep checking out for that. And please be sure to tell a friend and have them look back, as well as you, at all the amazing past guests we've had over the past 18 years. And download. Okay, appreciate that so much if you could do that. Questions, suggestions, if you've got them, send them to me at feedback@onscreenandbeyond.com. Love hearing from you. Billy Gray of Father Knows Best and the original The Day the Earth Stood Still coming up shortly, but right now it's remakes, sequels, and prequels on Screen and Beyond.
Please hang up and try again.
Remakes, sequels, and prequels. The Highlander movie with Henry Cavill has been listed as in pre-production at this time. Also, Henry will be involved in Enola Holmes 3, which is currently in production, and a remake of 1969's The Wild Bunch is in the works with Peter Dinklage and Jamie Foxx starring in that. Kiss of the Spider Woman hits theaters on October 10th with Diego Luna and Jennifer Lopez. And October 17th, get ready for the next installment of the horror franchise with Ethan Hawke as Black Phone 2 arrives in theaters. That's it for remakes, sequels, and prequels. Next on Screen and Beyond, upcoming new movies. Upcoming new movies. It looks like on July 18th, look for Dermot Mulroney and Neil McDonough and Christopher Lloyd in a thrill ride action movie called Guns N' Moses. This fall, you can see Corey Hawkins and Willem Dafoe in a thriller called The Man in the Basement in theaters and on Hulu. And June 27th, Michelle Dockery and Giancarlo Esposito star in the horror thriller Please Don't Feed the Children. And on October 17th, Good Fortune with Seth Rogen, Keke Palmer, Sandra Oh, and Keanu Reeves will land in theaters as a well-meaning angel meddles in the lives of a struggling gig worker and a venture capitalist. That's it for upcoming new movies. Coming up next on Screen and Beyond, movies and TV on DVD and streaming. Movies and TV on DVD and streaming. July 8th, the horror film Until Dawn arrives on 4K, Blu-ray, and DVD. Fury with Brad Pitt will be rolling on to 4K limited Steelbook edition on July 15th. August 6th, look for Eddie Murphy, Pete Davidson, Eva Longoria, and Keke Palmer once again in The Pickup. That's going to be on Prime Video. And The Last of Us, the complete second season, comes to Blu-ray DVD on September 23rd. And that's it for movies and TV on DVD and streaming. Next up, it's TV and entertainment time. TV and entertainment time. It's not too early for Christmas. Country singer John Barry has announced his 29th annual Christmas with John Barry tour. And the second season of The Buccaneers will sail on to Apple TV Plus on June 18th. And get this, The Search is On by Gibson Guitar Company and Michael J. Fox. They are searching for the cherry red Gibson ES345 guitar, which Michael Fox played in the film Back to the Future. It's been missing for 40 years. See what happens with that. And that's it for TV and entertainment time. Billy Gray of Father Knows Best and The Day the Earth Stood Still, the original, is next right here on Screen and Beyond. This week on Screen and Beyond, our guest worked with Abbott and Costello, Humphrey Bogart, Doris Day, Bob Hope, and so many others. He is known for many roles, including as Bud Anderson on the popular classic TV show Father Knows Best, and he was the star of one of my favorite films, the original The Day the Earth Stood Still, and he was a guest with us here on Screen and Beyond 17 years ago. It's Billy Gray. Billy, welcome back to On Screen and Beyond.
Wow, was it 17 years ago?
17.
Amazing.
Yeah. In fact, you were one of the first people that I had contacted through the internet, because I had always done my interviews in person, but I started to do more, and I had sent you a request. And I think at that time, what was it? I can't remember the name of what it was. It's slipping my mind, but it was on this. I don't even know if it exists anymore. MySpace, I think it was. I think it was on MySpace. You had a site, and I remember I thought, Billy Gray, I love that show and love that movie. I'll send an invitation to be on the show, and I sent it out, not knowing if so many people fake sites and everything, but you were gracious enough to get back in touch with me, and it was a pleasure to have you on.
Yeah, well, here we are again.
Yes, yeah. So, Billy, like I said, it's nice to have you back, and there's so many different things that you did in your career, in acting and everything. But when you first started, what was the very first thing that you did on screen?
I'm not sure. I was 5 years old, so it's
wow.
Thing was, my mother's agent saw me running around and said to my mom, "I think I can get this kid some work." And she said, "Okay." And so I went on some interviews and just got the interviews, and they weren't speaking parts; they were just bit parts. Kid on a corner, selling newspapers or something like that. So I don't really remember the very first one. I did probably several score of these very small bit part things for years, and then eventually I started getting parts where there was dialogue, and one thing led to another after that.
Yeah. So I'm cheating. I'm looking at at the internet here, and I'm seeing that in 1943 you were in I don't know if it was a movie or a TV show called Man of Courage. Do you remember that?
Boy, that doesn't ring a bell at all.
Yeah.
There's several of those things. Is it the M?
IMDb.
Yeah, right. There's a couple of things they have me credited for that I'm not. I know I'm not in.
Mm-hmm.
One is Some Like It Hot. They've got me in that movie.
Oh, really?
And I know I wasn't in that. And, but there is another Billy Gray. There's a Billy Gray who was a comedian, a Jewish comedian. He had a thing called Billy Gray's Bandbox on Fairfax in Hollywood years and years and years ago. And so when I started out, I don't think I had to. I don't know if I had to be in the Screen Actors Guild right away, but when I tried to join the Screen Actors Guild, I couldn't be Billy Gray because he was already there. So I had to be Billy Thomas Gray, and so that's the way they've got me in the Screen Actors Guild.
Now, you got to act with Abbott and Costello. Is that a true thing?
That is a true thing. It was one of the early bit parts where I had actually some words, or I'm not sure if I had any. Yeah, I think I might have said a sentence or two. What it was. They were standing together, and all of a sudden, an arrow stuck in a post that they were next to, and I come up with a feather coming out of my head, and I'm a pretend Indian, and I think I might say, "Give me my arrow," and Abbott. Is it which is the short one? Abbott, is Abbott the short one? No,
that's Lou
Costello. That's the short one. So I ask him, and he reaches up and tries to get the arrow out, and I give him I don't know, kind of an ugly face, and I reach up and pull it out, and I walk away with some disgust, and that was my bit part, and. My mother actually was in that as well. She yelled fire in an auditorium or something. She had a bit part too.
Huh. But, now, was your mother an actress?
Yeah, Beatrice Gray, and she was opposite Western heroes at the time: Johnny McBrown, Bob Steele, Hoot Gibson. That era.
Yeah.
And she was a little lady, and Bob Steele was a little guy, and so she worked opposite him 2 or 3 times, I think.
And now you were also in. And this is bringing back memories like crazy here. Ma and Pa Kettle at the fair.
I am credited for that. I don't have a memory of it, but I kind of think I might have. That might be true. I might have been in Ma and Pa Kettle, but I don't have any actual memory of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Now, what about and if this one, and hopefully it's right, that you were on The Adventures of Superman?
Yes, and I had forgotten that, but the fellow who played Superman's sidekick,
Jack Larson.
Jack Larson became a friend of mine years later, and I've known him for a long time. He's since passed.
Yes.
But he had to remind me that I had actually done a Superman. I'd forgotten that I'd done one. But I did do one, and someone sent me a copy of it, so I know that I actually did do that one.
Yeah, and every kid in America must have been jealous of you doing that. I know that because, I mean, you know, the Adventures of Superman was the show for kids to watch. That's for sure.
Oh yeah, yeah. I think I saw him. I think the story was I caught him. I took a picture or something, and I caught him changing outfits or something in a phone booth or something like that.
Yeah, and you mentioned Jack Larson. Jack actually, you know, before he passed, was a guest here on, in 2 episodes also.
Yeah, Jack was a real sweetheart.
Oh yeah,
really nice guy. And he lived in a house that was built by Frank Lloyd Wright.
Wow. Yeah. And
him and his partner Jim. What's his name? Jim. Oh Christ! He's a director. China Syndrome. He directed that.
Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Jim. God, I'm blanking on his name. Anyway, they lived together for years, and I visited him in his Frank Lloyd Wright house.
Yeah. He was very nice. He was such a nice guy when I did the interview.
Yeah, really a sweetheart.
Yeah. Now, when you came on to Father Knows Best, how did you get that part? What was the process on that?
It was just another interview. When I first started going on interviews, I seemed to get every one I went on. It was kind of it was weird even. I was just kind of a natural brat early on, and I guess that appealed to people at the time. And so it was just an interview, and I guess there must have been another interview because I did a test for it at the kitchen table, and got the part. Yeah, it was just simple as that. In fact, that was. I'm not sure that I'd done any TV before that. I don't recall doing a TV show earlier, and that was 1953 or 4, I think, one of those.
Yeah.
But it was, like I say, I don't remember doing any TV before that.
Yeah. And I've jumped ahead a little bit here because I had bypassed, and we'll come back to Father Knows Best. But in 1951, you did what I consider to be one of the best sci-fi films ever made, The Day the Earth Stood Still.
Yeah, my all-time favorite movie. It's really, it should be. I've talked about it often over the years, and my feeling is it should be required viewing in I don't know, 5th or 6th grade or something like that. You know, just because it's such an important message.
Yeah. And all the other sci-fi films at that time, and even now, they were more concerned about the creatures or the blowing up or any. This is not that type of movie. It's just
no. This was a different thing altogether. It was. I think Robert Wise directed it, and I think he's probably responsible for the specialness of the movie. He was really an excellent director and a really nice person as well. He's just one of the sweetest people I've ever met in the business. He's just couldn't have been a nicer guy.
Yeah, and I don't know how you feel about the remake they did, but I don't think it even came close.
No, well, you know what? My theory on that was that 20th Century Fox owned the title. And they said, "Hey, we got this title here, and it was a popular movie at the time. Let's see if we can't just use the title again and see if we can make some more money."
Mm-hmm.
They didn't care much about the story, it wasn't just a remake of that. It was a whole different deal. I think the issue there was global pollution or something, or
yeah.
I don't know. I've forgotten what. I didn't see the whole thing. I've seen portions of it over the years, and I'm a big fan of Keanu Reeves. I think he would have made a good Klaatu, but it didn't come off. I don't think they. Like I say, I think they just wanted to make some money off the title.
Yeah, and then it didn't have the feeling. The story was not there, and
No.
Hi, this is John Provost. You might remember me as Timmy from Lassie. Well, I'm on Screen and Beyond.
So how did you get that part? Is that one that you just did an interview again?
That was just another interview. I had no idea it was going to be a classic at the time. You know, it was just another job, and it was interesting because you know, they had the monster Gort,
Mm-hmm.
and we shot it. Most of the stuff that had Gort in it was in the back lot of 20th Century Fox, which is now Century City. And but in those days it was just fields, and we were out there in the nighttime shooting, and I just remember it was cold as the dickens, and everybody standing around a 50-gallon drum with a fire in it. So that was my most vivid memory of that show.
Yeah, and you know that the popularity of that film. I mean, even in the 70s, in the 70s, Ringo Starr had an album out with Gort and coming out of the spaceship, and so the Beatles were even, you know.
Yeah, I think it made one of the covers of one of their albums.
Yeah, Ringo's album. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just
well, like I say, it's as relevant today, if not more relevant. I mean, we've got India and Pakistan. Who knows what the hell's going to happen there?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they could be throwing bombs at each other any minute now, for all we know.
Yeah. It's just a shame, you know. People, they got to learn to live together. That's all.
Yeah. I mean, we were crazy, absolutely. The fact that we had literally thousands of nuclear bombs pointed at each other is bananas. It's just hard to imagine that people were actually. Well, there was duck and cover. I don't know if you're old enough to remember that.
Oh yes.
Yeah, I mean, we were taking it seriously with the bomb shelters and.
Yeah.
I mean, people were actually thinking there might be a nuclear war.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Jesus.
And you know, when you think about it, though, the duck and cover thing it wouldn't have done much good.
No. Talk about too little, too late.
Right. Yeah.
Really.
It's like, okay, that's about the least we should worry about because at that point, you know.
Yeah. Good luck.
Yeah. That boy. Yeah, jeez. So, but like I say, that movie just continues. And if there's anybody listening who, you know, unfortunately, this one is not a video, but if you're out there listening, be sure to watch that film, The Day the Earth Stood Still, the original.
Tell people too. I mean, it holds up really well. I've seen it a dozen times over the years. And it's a timeless movie. It really is. It was done so well. It's like it could have been made yesterday.
Yeah.
And it's just a movie I'm most proud of being involved in.
Oh, as you should be. Yeah, definitely. Now, what was it like on set? Did you have a chance to, you know, were you running around with the robot and everything, the creature?
No, not really. I like I say, we were out in the back lot of 20th Century Fox, and I did see the robot, and but I didn't really have any real close scenes with him. The scene in the movie is I'm quite a ways away, and I watch him knock the guards' heads together. I didn't even actually see it, but that's what happened. But that's. I didn't really have any, like I say, I wasn't involved in except viewing it. And there was an interesting kind of thing that I noted was that the suit that he was in was latex, and it must have weighed a couple 100 pounds.
Wow!
And the guy inside it, Lock Martin was his name. He was he played his day job was at the Chinese theater on Hollywood Boulevard, and he dressed up in a Mandarin outfit, and he was the kind of a greeter, and people gazed at him as they walked into the movies.
Mm-hmm.
But he was not. He was a big guy. I think he was approaching 7 foot.
Wow.
But he was frail, and he could only be in this suit for 20 minutes or so, and he had to get out of there and rest up.
Wow. Yeah. So, what was the other cast members like? Patricia Neal. I mean,
Patricia Neal's really a sweetheart. Yeah, she played my mom, and we had scenes together. For one, I think is really quite poignant. Where I tell her that I'd seen the monster and all that, and she says that it was a dream, and in this scene, I end up saying, "I wouldn't call you a liar."
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of a neat scene, really.
Yeah, yeah. And what about
she tells a story that's kind of funny. When they're on the run in the back of a taxi at the end of the movie, Michael Rennie's trying to tell her what to do in case something happens to him. And she, because Gort, God knows what Gort could do. So he's telling her, "You've got to say these words: Klaatu, Barada, Niktu," and he asks her to repeat them, and she tells the story. She goes and tries to say the words and giggles, and they do a rehearsal, and she giggles each time they get to it, and he asks her, "Is that the way you're going to do it?" And she said, "No, I can hold it together when we're rolling," and she could, and she got through it okay, but she didn't take the thing very seriously.
Wow. And you still remember the phrase after all these years.
Yeah, well, we were together a couple of times when they were giving Robert Wise awards. They'd show this movie, and they invited us to make comment afterwards, and that's where I heard the story. She told a couple of times.
Huh. Now, and what was Michael Rennie like? He seemed so somber in the movie.
Yeah, well, it was very professional. I didn't have any no problem with him at all. In fact, he was kind of a ladies' man apparently, because he was very attentive to my mother, who was a good-looking lady. And he made sure that she had a chair and coffee and that kind of thing. So I don't know if it went anywhere or not, but he was certainly interested in her.
Hi, I'm Susan Olson. I used to be Cindy Brady. I guess I always will be on Screen and Beyond.
Going back to Father Knows Best, how was the cast on that? What was everybody like on the cast?
Well, we were, with the exception for Lauren Chapin, who was, I think she was, I don't know, 10 or 12 or something. She hadn't worked all that much, but the rest of us had been around for quite a while. Eleanor Donahue had worked as a child. She was under contract at MGM with Margaret O'Brien and whatnot, so she's been around forever. And I'd been around forever. And of course, Jane Wyatt and Robert Young. I think the reason that the show has held up so well was because Robert Young was a movie star and had done this radio show where he was the father that knew best. And he, when it went to television, he still owned the show and made sure that we shot it as if it was a movie. He didn't have any experience with television before that, I don't think. But television in those years, in the early 50s, was kind of slipshod. They didn't really, they didn't quality wasn't what they were going for, apparently. And but in this show, in Father Knows Best, the quality was what we were after. And if everything wasn't just right, we'd shoot it again. And 10 or 12 takes was not unusual.
Yeah. Now,
so that's one of the reasons it's still being shown today, somewhere every day, I think.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Now, I've talked with some of the actors from the My Three Sons, and Fred McMurray evidently did not. He would film his, or they would tape or film whatever it was, his scenes, and then the kids would come in and do their scenes afterward because he was busy with films. Was Robert Young having the same type of situation?
No. All entirely different. And I've talked with Stanley Livingston.
Yeah, Stan.
And he told me a story similar to what you were talking about. He would do his close-ups, and then he wouldn't be around for the other people's close-ups. Mm-hmm. But he'd do all of his at one time, and then I guess he didn't really. I don't know. It was a different shooting schedule altogether.
Yeah.
It was very unusual. We didn't have anything like that. Everybody was there for every bit of it on Father Knows Best.
Yeah, and of course Robert went on to other TV shows, and he was just
He kept going.
Yeah, he was just becoming.
Well, it's interesting. I don't know if I told you this before, but my understanding was that the television show, his concept was Father Knows Best with a question mark at the end. And when he went to television, the only sponsor that had a time slot that could accept it and wanted the show was Kent Cigarettes. And Kent Cigarettes said, no, we don't like the idea of a question mark at all, and we'd like you to drop the question mark. And Robert told me later on, that he fought to keep the question mark, but it was a deal breaker.
Wow.
With P. Lorillard, apparently didn't want any ambiguities about. They just wanted Father Knows Best. Period.
He knew. Yeah. The man of the house.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. So as far as the show, is there any memories that come to mind that, funny scenes or goofs that happened or anything like that you can share with us?
Well, the first thing that comes to mind is that one time in the kitchen, I had some excited. I was excited about something, and I had kind of a long speech to do, and I kept. I don't think I did my homework that night or whatever, but I couldn't get through the damn speech without going up, without not knowing what the next word was. And it went on and on and on like that until we finally said, well, let's give up on this and come back and see if we can get it done later. That's the memory that comes to mind, which is the most horrifying. When you just, it's not like being on stage and not knowing what you're supposed to say, but it was damn near as bad because everybody's, the whole crew's sitting around waiting to go to the next shot, and here you can't get through the damn shot,
Yeah.
So, but other than that, it was a great show to be on. Everybody was. It couldn't have been nicer. We had no problems whatsoever with the show. Mm-hmm. And like I say, we held a very high standard to what we said printed.
Yeah.
In fact, we had one where the script girl. And the script lady kind of makes sure that everything goes together. If you have a prop, she knows which hand you held it in, and if you look to the right or the left, she would keep track of everything.
Mm-hmm.
And her name was Winnie, and we had a thing. If we got through a scene, and if it was a WC, it was Winnie cried, and that was a good sign.
Yeah. Now the show ended in 1960, but back then in 1977, they came back with the reunion movies on TV. Did you guys have any idea before when the show ended that you would be back doing some TV movies?
No, didn't have it. It came out of the blue altogether. In fact, the lady that was producing that the remake or the reunion show, she wasn't all that familiar with the show. I'm not even sure she'd seen it. But we went round and round about my salary, and I thought I should be getting what was favor nations thing. I wondered what everybody else was getting, and they didn't want to give. I forget what the dollar figure was, but it was something that I wasn't happy with, and so she was saying, "Well, we can go another direction," and so I just said, "Yeah, sure, yeah, replace Bud. Good luck."
It would have been the same.
They came up with some more money. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. I don't know. You sometimes wonder if these people don't have any idea what the show is about. Why are they the ones in charge of the show?
Yeah, exactly.
Wow, it's incredible. But anyway, so they came back and you did a couple of those movies for TV.
Yeah, well, apparently the first reunion show got a 41 share, which I guess is a big number for shares. I'm not really sure what share means. Whether that means 41% of the people who are watching TV watch this show, or I have no idea what that number means, but apparently it was impressive enough to where they let a year or so go by and did another reunion because it was so popular.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, it was a great show. It was just, all the shows back then they were just, you felt good when you watched them. It's like compared to some of the shows you watch now that, it's a whole different ball game now.
Yeah, well, it's like I say, everybody was, but Lauren were seasoned pros, and so it was a high quality product.
Yeah,
I got really lucky because, like I say, television in those days, if you got all the words out, they'd say printed. It's fight night tonight. We got to get out of here, And but the show had a producer, Eugene B. Rodney, who was a partner with Robert Young, and he was a producer that gave the director carte blanche. That he could. We had two directors. Bill Russell was the first director for about a year or so, and then for the major part of it, the whole rest of the show was Peter Tewksbury, who was just a genius. Never worked with a director that did his homework like he did. He blocked out every scene and knew what every cross was, and you picked up a prop here and you crossed there. He had it all worked out beforehand, and really was a smart guy too, because he could tell if it wasn't quite working. He wouldn't say print. He'd say, let's do it again. And usually had some kind of interesting thing to say that would make it better.
Yeah. And here it is, 65 years or so after the show ended, if my math is right. I'm trying to think at the top. But people are still talking about the show, and that shows the longevity of that type of show. And it's just incredible that it's going on. And in fact, you still are you going making appearances once in a while at autograph shows and things like that?
Yeah, yeah. As a matter of fact, I haven't. I did one relatively recently, but I haven't done. They used to have them kind of on a yearly basis around Hollywood,
Mm-hmm.
and I did go to half a dozen of them, and that was the show was always a big hit there.
Yeah.
Oh, incidentally, when we finished, there was a writer's strike, I think, right at the end of our run, and so we were like halfway through a season, and for some reason or other, they figured they'd just stop production and sell it into syndication. So we didn't have a final episode or anything like that, or a going away party, or we just at the end of the strike, we never got back together after the strike. But the point what I was getting to was that the show ran in its time slot for another couple of years in first like it was a regular continuation, but actually it was just showing reruns of earlier shows.
Huh.
And that was pretty unusual that it went on for several years in reruns in its time slot, and it's 8 o'clock or something.
Yeah. Yeah. It makes you wonder why they cut it. Why did they, why did they end
Well,
the show?
I think they figured that they just start making some money on it. And everybody was kind of tired. We'd done it for 6 years.
Yeah.
I think Robert Young probably wanted to move on to something else.
Yeah. Yeah. Boy, that's really something. So, but anyways, I'm so happy that you agreed to come back on and, give us an update. And what are you up to now? Are you, taking the good life and just relaxing? Or?
I'm fascinated by our political soap opera. I can't get away from the news. I'm addicted to it. It's something outrageous happens on a regular basis. It seems like it's just more outrageous than the next. I mean, what's the latest thing? Oh, yeah, $400 million airplane being gifted.
Yeah. And it seems like every day we watch the news and there's something going on as far as flights and in the airlines and Newark and everything else, I mean, it's like, wow.
90-second blackouts and whatnot.
I'm flying in a couple of weeks to LA and it's like, I don't know.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah.
Wow. But,
so I'm just a news junkie now is what is my principal activity.
Yeah. Well, Billy, I'm going to finish up with one final question.
Sure.
But I have an idea of what you're going to tell me on this one. But when you sit back and relax, what are your favorite TV shows now and of the past? And what's your favorite movies now and of the past?
Well, let me think about that one for a second.
And of course, news. You already said that.
The news is I can't get away from. But there's been some really good TV shows that I've watched. I'm kind of blanking on them now for some reason or other, but one of my favorite movies is Dr. Strangelove. It's a
classic.
I don't mind seeing that. I've seen it probably half a dozen times, and it's always entertaining. And I just I'm trying to think of some of the shows, the TV shows that I've watched that are great. And I'm kind of coming up blank somehow.
No, that's all right. But and anything when you were a kid, was there a show that you used to watch back then?
Well, I wasn't a big sci-fi fan. I think I was more into Westerns and stuff like that. But I didn't have any real preferences for movies. Although as a kid, I lived in Hollywood, and I learned how to sneak into most of the movie theaters. So that was my daily activity. Was I'd sneak into a couple of them a day. There was always a back door that could be jimmied or something.
Wow. Yeah. Well, Bud, your father on Father Knows Best is going to be mad about that one. Yeah. Well, Billy, I thank you so much for taking the time to share with us, and it was great to have you back on, and hope everything's going great for you, and thank you so much for joining us.
Nice talking with you, Brian.
Well, I hope you enjoyed that. Billy Gray of Father Knows Best, and one of my favorite sci-fi films of all time, the original, The Day the Earth Stood Still. I thank him so much. I ran into him over the Memorial weekend, and it was really a pleasure to finally meet him in person. Unfortunately, he was unable to do the video portion of this interview due to computer errors on his side that he was having, and we couldn't do that. But hope you still enjoy it. And please subscribe, follow, share On Screen and Beyond on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts, or if you're watching us, it's Spotify and YouTube. You can get them there to watch it, and you get all the episodes as soon as I put them up. That's the best way to do it. Please be sure to tell a friend about us, and I hope you will be joining us each week right here. And thanks for watching and listening. And next week, I have a very interesting guest coming our way, and I hope that you'll join me for that. And remember, if you have a suggestion for a guest or a connection with that guest, that would be even better. You can call me you can email me rather, at feedback@onscreenandbeyond.com. Love hearing from you. That is it. That's a wrap for this episode of On Screen and Beyond. So until next time, when we once again take you on screen and beyond. I'm Brian Zemrak. Take care.